Hello and welcome to Reboot the World, Campus Party's first ever digital edition. We are excited to have Niko Tsirlis, Ryan Marsh, Amber Chau, and Alex Barnett participate in Collegiate Esports Leader Roundtable. Over to you, Niko.
Thanks, Jason, Deb, Donna, Carol, and everyone at the Campus Party team for hosting the first ever global digital edition of Campus Party. It's great to see more events like this happening and bringing together the collegiate community. For those of you watching, if you are new to the Campus Party community, earlier today, there were inspiring talks about the future generation of leaders, including Sir Tim Berners-Lee, Vincent Cerf, talking about some of the latest technology, quantum computing, the future of money in banking, and various topics. This is a 24-hour event, and stay tuned for more speakers as well tomorrow, including a conversation with Edward Snowden. So it's great to see events like this happening and bringing together the collegiate community. This panel is about collegiate esports. And as campuseros out there, you might play some of these esports titles. Maybe you play Fortnite, League of Legends, Hearthstone, Rocket League, Overwatch, or Valorant. And with more people playing games, collegiate esports has been growing significantly over time. If you're a college student and you play some of these games, you might be wondering, how do I start an esports team on my campus? Or how can I start my esports career, and how can my university help me? So this panel is meant for you. It's meant to go over these questions, and it's meant to provide a high-level overview of what collegiate esports is and how you can get involved. Then a little later, I'm going to invite some panelists to share their experiences and to help answer your questions. If you have a question at any time during the panel, please feel free to write it down in chat, and then towards the end, we will get to those questions. In the meantime, feel free to let us know, what games do you currently play? Do you play Fortnite, League of Legends, Hearthstone, Rocket League, Valorant? Let us know in the chat. Now, a quick background about myself. I have been in the collegiate esports scene for the past 10 years. When I was in college, I was a competitive Halo player. And at the time, I didn't think that esports could really be as big as it is today. I mostly played for fun. It was a way of meeting new people, making new friends, and Halo was the game that I played. When I was at Miami University of Ohio, I studied business, and later I got on to get my certification in accounting, as well as being a certified project manager, where I worked at various companies. Then in 2015, helped start AllMid, which is an esports production company. Back in October of 2015, we ran our first collegiate invitational that had schools across 15 states come to the Midwest to play in tournaments over 2 days. Fortunately, the community has supported us since then, and we have looked to support grassroots communities and collegiate communities by sponsoring some bigger collegiate convention events. And then more recently, we also have signed a professional Rocket League team, and they are competing in some of the biggest tournaments right now in Rocket League, and we're really excited about them. Then that was in 2015. In 2018, started working at Cougar Gaming, and they are a global company that produces all of the equipment that you need to practice and to compete in these tournaments. So equipment like headsets, keyboards, mice, mouse pads, gaming chairs, all of the equipment needed. And Cougar Gaming has supported various groups in what people need to play. And then in 2019, my life has come back full circle, where I came back to Miami University and I teach esports events and try to help connect students to industry opportunities. So I've been in collegiate esports for the past 10 years, and I have multiple perspectives: an events perspective, a product marketing perspective, a teacher's perspective, as well as a team owner perspective. So when most people think about esports, they probably think about the large scale, multi-million dollar prize pool events. You may have seen a poster that looks something similar to this in the summer of 2019. A 16-year-old won the Fortnite World Cup Championship, and his share of the prize pool was over $3 million. This got a lot of attention in the industry because a 16-year-old won more money than some of the iconic athletes in traditional sports. And this got a lot of attention in the industry. And a lot of people, when they think of esports, they think of the large-scale competitions. But it turns out that there's more to esports than just playing for the money or playing with the large-scale competitions. And to put some perspective to this, I like to use this framework. This is the framework that I use when I teach my class at Miami University. And it's a simple way to classify esports events. On the right side, these are the esports events that professional players play. On the top right, that's the event like the World Championship of Fortnite, or for League of Legends, or for Overwatch. These are the large-scale events that a lot of people know. But there's also the small-scale professional events. The photo that you see is a photo of the NBA 2K's Cavaliers esports team. And those traditional athletes are now moving over to playing esports. It turns out, though, that most esports events and activities happen on the left side of this framework. These are the events that are open to anybody. It's the overall community, the amateur player, the aspiring pro, and this is where most events tend to happen. There are large-scale community events and small-scale community events. What's unique about collegiate esports is that, in my opinion, it gets the best of both worlds. By being in collegiate esports, many people have an opportunity to compete, and those competitions can be large scale. Not quite on the professional side with multi-million dollar competitions, but you can still be the best collegiate player in the country while also fostering that sense of community and camaraderie. So to give some perspective and to make this a little more concrete, this shows some events in photos. These are all events that we have run in the past. And all of these events involve a collegiate tournament. So when you look at these photos, you can see there's a pretty good mix of large-scale events and smaller-scale events. On the top, you see the high-quality production. You see the LAN area where everyone brings their computers. You see the conference area. But then when you look at the middle and you look at the bottom, these are smaller-scale events that are also collegiate and community-led. And what makes collegiate esports unique, in my opinion, is that it gets the best of both worlds, where it's not about cutthroat competition, it's not about playing for the money, it's about playing with a group of people, fostering that sense of teamwork, building the skills that you need to be successful in whatever career you want to pursue. And that's what, in my opinion, is unique about collegiate esports. Now, over time, collegiate esports has grown considerably. The first university to have a collegiate esports program was Robert Morris University, led by Kurt Melker. Miami University of Ohio was the first Division I university to have a varsity esports program. Over time, this has grown significantly. In 2019, over 170 collegiate esports programs have been accounted for, and even more recently, that number has almost doubled. One reason why universities are developing these esports programs is, one, because it helps with admissions. More students are looking for these opportunities, so it helps from an admissions perspective. But two, it also prepares students for the skills that they need for when they enter the workforce. And I'll talk a little bit more about that around the curriculums. So whereas this shows the breadth of collegiate esports, there's also the growth of the depth of it. And generally speaking, when we help various universities, we see a typical phased life cycle. We have some proprietary data that we cannot show publicly. However, this shows a simple way of how a university starts with their esports program and how that can develop over time. Generally, from what I've seen, universities start with some kind of a gaming club. This is typically a casual focus where students come to meet other students. They come to make friends through playing their favorite games. It's an extracurricular activity. Then, with additional administrative support, there are varsity teams created for collegiate titles. Some of the most popular collegiate titles now are League of Legends, Overwatch, Hearthstone, Rocket League, and more recently, Valorant. Not all universities have varsity teams for all of these games. It depends on the universities, but those are typically the esports titles that will have varsity teams. Then, depending on the administrative support, there may also be an esports curriculum. So beyond just an extracurricular activity, beyond just competing in tournaments, students can learn the skill sets behind the esports industry. And then, depending on administrative support, there are facilities that are either existing facilities or sometimes even brand new built facilities that are dedicated for the esports varsity athletes. This depends on school to school, and it does depend on administrative support and partner support, but these facilities are equipped with the latest equipment for students to practice and compete in large-scale tournaments. You might be wondering how the curriculum works if you're a parent or if you're a university administrator. The curriculum part of an esports program is relatively new, and this has been a recent trend that's been happening. Miami University started relatively early in January of 2019, but it turns out that many people think that esports is this separate thing, but it's actually highly interdisciplinary. A student can learn project management with an emphasis in esports. They can learn marketing with an emphasis in esports. They can learn production with an emphasis in esports. So the curriculum helps provide that domain knowledge so that students can apply some of these traditional skill sets to a growing and developing industry. Now, over time, as the industry has grown, there have been more and more companies that have been hiring. This is some publicly available data showing information on some of the sectors and the geographic locations. You can see that for the most part, most of the hiring in the esports industry has been focused on the coasts. However, more recently, with remote work being more available, there's hiring throughout the United States. And there's even more opportunities now than there has been before. When you look at the top 10 hiring sectors, notice that the first thing is not professional esports player. A lot of people think that esports is all about becoming a pro. And if you're a student and that's your passion and that's what you want to focus on, that's great. However, there are multiple avenues, multiple paths that you can take to start a career in esports. And some of the top hiring sectors are things you may not have thought about before, like operations, marketing, software engineering, and design. Esports is really interdisciplinary. And even within the class that I teach at Miami University, I find that about 50% of students are STEM majors. They are science, technology, engineering, mathematics. About 25% tend to have some kind of a business focus. And then the rest of the majors are just about anything. There's a good variety. So it doesn't matter what your major is. It doesn't matter as much where you live. There are communities out there where you can get involved in the esports industry. And even within All Mid, we have helped connect students to industry opportunities. One person has gone on to work at a AAA major game developer. Another person has gone on to be a professional commentator. Another person, a professional analyst. And then even another person that now works at a collegiate esports program. So more and more groups are hiring, and there are ways for you to get involved. So this is a brief overview of collegiate esports. There are so many things to go over, and this could be an event in and of itself. However, this is meant to be a brief overview to give you a sense of what collegiate esports is, who is hiring, how to get involved, and the different perspectives that you can have. If you'd like to get some more information, some of our data behind how universities start from a gaming club to going to a varsity team, to a curriculum, to facilities, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help. And overall, there are communities out there that are willing to help you and support you. So this is a brief overview. And for the next part, I'm going to invite our panel of speakers, and they are going to share their experiences as well as help answer your questions on collegiate esports. Esports has so many different perspectives. It's important to include as many people as we can and different perspectives as well. And so I'm excited to see that our panel has joined us. On your bottom left, we have Alex Barnett. He is the Student Director of Partnerships at Champlain College Esports, as well as the Intercollegiate Game Network. On your bottom right, we have Ryan Marsh, who is the Operations Executive at the Intercollegiate Game Network. And on your top right, we have Amber Chau, who is a recent graduate of Shawnee State University. And she was the varsity captain as well as manager of the Overwatch team, and also a highly talented graphic design artist. So it's nice to see everyone here. Before we started, we asked the community, what questions would you like to see? And what questions would you like to have answered by our panel? So we are going to go through these questions first. If at any point you have other questions that you'd like to share, please feel free to type it in the chat, and we'll go over those questions later on. In the meantime, feel free to let us know, what games do you play? Do you play Fortnite, League of Legends, Hearthstone, Rocket League, Valorant? Feel free to let us know. So let's start with the first question that the community has asked. I think what's great about this panel is that it's a balanced panel. Alex, your experience is in marketing and outreach. And Ryan, your experience is in production. And Amber, you've got experience with varsity teams and design. You all have different perspectives in esports. And students look at people like you all that have achieved success and wonder, how do I get started? So Alex, maybe you can start us off. How did you get your start in esports?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't really know a ton about esports going into college. I am a game development major. I just knew that I wanted to get involved on campus. So esports was something that was related to gaming, and I was passionate about gaming, so I decided to start there. From there, I really was just put in charge of getting drinks and food for our big event that November. And it went well, and we had a lot of fun at that event. And I kind of progressed working more with our marketing and social media. And from there, I took over with my current role as the director of marketing and partnerships for Champlain College Esports. And then more recently, with the start of the COVID pandemic, I came onto the Intercollegiate Game Network team when we first started in March, and have been working with them in a similar capacity ever since then.
For me, I started out at the University of Connecticut as a Overwatch player. I actually got my first gaming laptop to start playing Overwatch. And then from there, I got involved with the gaming club on campus as the Overwatch division head. So I was focused on creating events specifically for Overwatch. And then I moved on to the general event coordinator. So creating events of all different types on campus and online. And I did that for about 2 years. And since then, I have joined Intercollegiate Game Network with Alex as the operations executive. So I make sure everything kind of runs smoothly in the background of what we do in the day-to-day. And I also do stream production with Elohel Esports. So that's mainly focused on Overwatch tournaments and making the streams for those, making sure everything looks good on those.
I started at Shawnee State University as a captain and manager of the Overwatch varsity team. It was my first year being involved with esports, because before that, I mostly played Overwatch competitively, or I just played MMOs. So my experience with that kind of helped me build some leadership skills and also some teamwork skills, which helped prepare me to take those that leading directing role with the Overwatch roster that I had. And now today, with the skills that I've built, soft and hard skills, I now do freelancing for organizations that need direction on their marketing campaign or design campaign, or I also do some streaming, so I have that in my belt additionally to help produce for tournaments.
I think what's really nice about this panel is that you all have different perspectives. And Alex, your focus is on marketing. And I'm sure you spend a lot of your time in meetings talking with people. And Ryan, your focus is on production. And you're behind the scenes dealing with all of the tech. And Amber, you have a wide range of experiences with events and helping manage teams as well as graphic design. One thing that students were wondering about, and maybe Alex, you could start us off again, given your different perspectives and what you focus on, what do you like most about esports?
So for me, like you said, because I'm in marketing and partnerships and outreach, a lot of my day is spent in meetings, talking to both people internally and then talking to partner organizations, companies, and just other collegiate leaders in the space. And for me, it's just such a great time to meet these new people, get different perspectives on what they're doing in the esports space and how we can work together. Because I think once all the community starts to work together, it is really just like the sky is the limit with what we can do. And so being able to meet those new people through all my meetings and organizations that I work with has just been really the best thing being a part of Collegiate Esports for me.
I'll have to also echo that. Ever since, I got into Collegiate Esports mainly to meet a lot of new people on campus. Before then, I was pretty introverted. I didn't really go out from my dorm too much or go to many clubs, but the gaming club kind of became a way to get involved with more people, meet a lot of new people, and just find something to do on the weekends. And from there, it's been really interesting to see kind of all these new groups come out, how I can be involved with them, how I've changed since then. And because I never really expected to do any of what I'm doing right now. So that's always the kind of dynamic nature of it is always really exciting. And since I do a lot of production stuff, one of the kind of other exciting things is just seeing the technology evolve, seeing sort of on one side, seeing what new games come out, but also seeing what new tech comes out. So a lot of the tools I use change and adapt to what's the best thing that's currently available. So for example, there was a new technology a few weeks ago I just started using in my streams, and it's been really helpful. So I kind of get a little excited about those kind of things too. Yeah, that's everything.
It's always the people. Always, either to talk to them online or in person. It's especially more exciting to meet people, either for the first time, like let's say you've competed with some friends and you finally meet them. That's super cool when you get to have the opportunity at a convention. That's very exciting. And also meeting other passionately driven people, despite of the different background that they may come from. I think I find that very wholesome. So, and any person I meet, either it be professionally or personally, I appreciate how it has developed my personality, my work ethics, and my contribution toward the future of collegiate esports.
I think that's a really good point. With events, you get to meet a lot of people, and with some of these bigger events, sometimes it feels like a family reunion where you get to see people that you haven't seen in a while. And that's one of the favorite things that I know a lot of people have mentioned. It's something that I enjoy in helping run events, is seeing people come together and create these experiences together. One of the questions people asked was more around the future and what they should be planning for. I'm starting to see that universities are starting to develop curriculums around esports. This is a recent trend, and I think it will evolve and mature over time. It's still relatively new and fresh, but there are students that are just now entering college, and they're wondering what to major in and what to study. So since you all have recent experience in college, what skills would you recommend that students learn to pursue a career in esports? Alex, you can start us off.
Yeah, so for me, like you were talking about, the esports field is so diverse in the sense that there's so many different ways to get in it. So looking for those like hard skills of what to major in or like that kind of stuff, that can really just depend on what you're passionate about, what you're good at. I think the biggest things that I would try to learn and the biggest skills I would try to pick up would be those communication skills, those soft skills, being able to work in teams. Once you're able to communicate well, work in that team environment, be able to be adaptable and reliable, those are things that will propel you forward in collegiate esports and move you forward towards professional esports if that's the route you want to go to. So I think those soft skills are just really valuable. And then in terms of the hard skills, just pick something that you're passionate about and that you're good at.
I can't speak too much on the side of choosing classes to go towards esports because I did computer science, so I was mainly just focused on computer science stuff. But I did a lot of the learning that I did was through other means and mainly my club. So I can kind of speak on the things I would suggest for people interested in being players and interested in being on the observation side. So mainly there's kind of three things for each of these, which is taking initiative, researching tactics, and joining discussions. So the taking initiative part for both of them is mainly figuring out if you want to, whatever you want to do in esports, figure out what's already available to you. If you're a college student, what's available at your campus. So if your campus already has a org or a group that does esports stuff, see what positions there are. If there isn't a position available, see how they can expand. You can give a pretty good argument for why you think they should add something that they don't already have. If that's not available, you can create your own group. Especially as a player, there's many opportunities for college students to just play without even being involved directly with their school. And researching tactics, there's many resources for players, depending on your game. Your avenue may vary, but researching competitive tactics and seeing how you compare what your current strategies are is always recommended, especially with the strategies in games always changing as they're updated or new characters are added. But this also goes for on the side of being a producer or a in-game observer, where you always want to be researching game strategy as well to figure out what people are interested in. What do they want to see? When you are changing the camera in the game, what do you think is going to happen? You want to create a kind of story with how you observe the game and kind of the production leading up to that. And the joining discussions, if you're on the competitive side, there's a lot of different online groups that you can join to see what people are thinking of the game, what they're discussing. Maybe they think a new character is too broken, or maybe the strategy that you're using, everyone has found this new strategy. And this also goes for the production aspect of it. As I'd mentioned before, there's like a new tool that I had learned through a production group that I'm part of. And I had no idea about it, and I wouldn't have learned about it, or at least I wouldn't have learned about it until much later if I hadn't been involved in these groups and constantly researching new methods to improve what I already do. Initiative, research tactics, and joining discussions is always key to starting and evolving whatever you're doing in esports.
I would like to emphasize that for people or for students who are interested to get their, foot in, is you want to reflect on your soft and technical skills. You want to ask yourself, are there skills that you have that you can continue perfecting, or are there new skills that you want to adapt to that you may find useful in the scene? I would also like to emphasize a majority of skills generally translate to esports, from business management to visual arts to human relations. So even if you feel it's something not directly related to esports, I'm pretty sure in general you will find whatever that you learn in that experience to be able to be viable in esports, to offer as a contribution. And I want to emphasize that it's okay to take baby steps toward a large goal. Esports itself is still growing. It's growing at a very quick pace, and it's not a one-man job. So be realistic on knowing what is appropriate for you to handle, as well as the type of coworkers that you want to surround yourself with, people that you can depend on and rely with. I would also like to emphasize that you don't have to take on a new project if you don't feel confident 100% on it. For example, you could offer to shadow behind someone and then use that experience from shadowing to take notes to say, oh, this is a really cool feature. I want to keep this, or, oh, this feature could be better improved, and I think I can help with that. So with that experience and, evolving it into the most peak form, you can use that toward your career in esports, whether it be at a student level or at a professional big scale level.
I think now students have more opportunities to get involved. And one way to get involved and get started is to join their esports club on campus. However, some students were actually already club leaders. They already started a club, and they're wondering what they can do to help grow that club. And I think sometimes when students are in leadership positions, there are all kinds of things that can come up and challenges that come up. Given you all have recent college experience and you all are very close to your collegiate teams as well as external groups as well, what would you recommend that the student leaders do to help grow their club and their community on campus?
Yeah, so I can start with that one. For me, I think one of the biggest things is consistency and having those events consistently that people want to see. You want to set the precedent that your club is active and engaged on campus. If you go too long without some sort of event, people might start to forget that there are events that you put on. And then also looking for those avenues that your target market of people that you want to come to the events, looking for those ways to actually communicate with them. So for gamers, it might be something where there's a community Discord for your college. So go on there and promote your event through that. And that might be a way that you can reach your target market. And that might be the best way for you. Whereas other people, like I know on my campus, we rely on posters a lot of the time. So that is a way that we can get our message out there. And on top of that, I know this might sound a little bit like funny or like a joke, but food is absolutely one of the best motivators to get college students to an event. If you can offer free pizza at a student-run event, college students will flock to that event. And once you have them in, if you keep putting on those events, even if the food starts to dwindle a little bit, you will be able to retain a solid amount of those people that are coming to your events. So I think consistency, making sure you're communicating the right avenues, and really just putting on events that the target market will enjoy.
Food is definitely a big draw for college students. I can't agree. So in my position as the event coordinator, I did a lot of research into the kind of promotion of events, because creating those events was our main draw as a club and was the main way to grow the club. So one thing I would recommend that was effective for us is collaborating with other groups. So we had annual events that were part of collaboration with other clubs, and we also had new events that were part of new collaborations. So for example, we had a yearly collaboration with the Japanese Student Association on campus, because we saw there was a lot of there was a good amount of intersectionality between our groups, but there was also new people that hadn't heard of the other group. So it was a very good yearly thing to do. And there's also one of the major groups on campus called the SUBOG, or the Student Union Board of Governors, I believe, which is like a University of Connecticut. It's like the head club on campus. They have a lot of power. They get a lot of funding, and they have they basically get to do a lot more. So we worked with them to create events with entirely new audiences that hadn't heard of us. For example, there's always a big event in the first weekend of first weekend of the semester on campus. And we were able to collaborate with them so that our club was like right at the front of that event. So all the freshmen coming in, it's probably like at least 90% freshmen for that event, saw our club and engaged with us. and we got a whole new group of people that, keep in mind, that was their first weekend on campus. And the other thing I'd recommend is just, well, I guess this leads into it, but creating unconventional events. You might think that there's some club that you won't see a way that would initially collaborate with them. But if you're limiting yourself to just games or just how you've been playing games or presenting games, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure to expand. So always be more open to unconventional things, see what's popular on campus, and make sure you adapt. And then lastly, because I had to do this with a lot of events, make sure for all of your events that you research every single way. I mean, you don't have to use all of them, but getting a good solid list of all the ways that your club is able to promote an event through your campus is a very helpful tool. And there's probably more ways than you even think of, because I had to do it for one of my first events when I started, and there was a ton of new places I didn't even know you could put posters in certain places, or the rules for posters in certain places. And it was, we got a lot more people because of it, because we were able to promote it so much through that research. So collaboration, research, and thinking outside the box, I'd say is a good summary.
In my experience, the big emphasis was food. Everyone likes free food. Especially if you get to try different kinds of food. So, for example, we had an esports event in a celebration also with Lunar Year. So we were having tournaments along with having students eat homemade food from the culture club. And outside of correlating with the calendar holidays, which is a pretty easy way to follow a theme. There's also opportunities to collaborate with departments of the university, such as admissions, because if you help them gain interest of freshmen to the university, very likely you could also help gain freshmen into your club too. And you can also partner with clubs instead of working alone. It's good to build, an engaging and balancing club where you're not all about gaming. It makes you feel that your club is flexible, and if it's flexible, that makes it more welcoming. So for example, you could work with the student government association, the tech club, culture club, art club, etc. And I also want to emphasize that it's really important that if your university hosts a freshman orientation or any orientation that allows you to set up your booth so that you could have interested people walk by, please take advantage of it. Every flyer and every person that you talk to counts as a prospective member to your club.
And just to reiterate on one of the points about running unconventional events, if you are a student leader and you are looking for fresh ideas and you want to do something different, something that stands out, one thing you can do is just ask your club what they would like to see. Sometimes the weirdest ideas can be the best ideas, and you never know. So try to ask your club what they think, cast a wide pool, brainstorm, and see what they say. So just a quick reminder, we are going to open Q&A soon. If you have questions, please feel free to type it in the chat. We have time for one more question, and then we're going to open it up to the rest of the questions. So with your experiences in collegiate and even now beyond for Amber and Ryan, you're involved in a lot of projects. You're involved in different groups and activities. What are you looking forward to? What are you excited about?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm excited about a lot of stuff going forward in esports. I never thought that I would be in this position just in general. So I'm really excited that I'm here and moving to the future. For me, one of the biggest things that I'm excited about is the pipeline, creating that pipeline between collegiate and the industry. That is something that myself and Ryan work on with Intercollegiate Game Network, where we try to make that connection between the collegiate side of esports and the industry professionals that are already in those roles. And I think that that's something that we've had a lot of fun with, and that our team at Intercollegiate Game Network is just really passionate about. And then the other thing I'm excited about is the fact that because esports is so new, not a lot of colleges they don't really know how to interact with it yet, but we're starting to see them pour more resources into those student-led organizations that have already done such incredible things. And so with the increase of resources that these organizations are getting, I'm excited to see what they're able to do and what new events, what large-scale events, and just what fun things the community as a whole in collegiate esports is able to put on moving forward.
Yeah, for me, one of the things would also be kind of seeing all these new people join, all these new people in the space of esports, and especially the collegiate esports scene. I really only got into it in the second year of my college years, and we have people now that, and for a while now, have been getting involved during high school. And I definitely didn't really know anything about esports in high school. So seeing all these new people come into the space, seeing their ideas and just their motivation is really inspiring. And then also seeing how the games evolve is also really exciting. So from the list that Niko had mentioned at the start, Overwatch was something that came out quite a few years ago and wasn't really hailed as a kind of esports game. There wasn't much of an esports focus. There wasn't really any structure to it. Of course, some people on their own had been doing things, but the developers of the game hadn't done anything until, I might get this wrong, it was a few years ago that they had started. Compared to now, you have a lot of games such as Valorant that come out and are instantly focused on esports. So it's kind of a new space for just gaming in general, where you have a lot of these games that are focused on esports, and organizations around it that are interested in making teams and tournaments for those. And then, of course, because I like technology too much, I'm also excited to see how the kind of accessibility and kind of features of the technology available to us evolves and improves, because the barriers for entering the streaming and esports scene are getting lower and lower. The main barrier is probably just having a decent computer, but even then, a lot of games now are very optimized, so you don't need like double computer, triple graphics card setup, or not triple, double graphics card setup. You really just need a decent computer and a good amount of passion to get good at what you want to do.
For what I'm excited about for esports, it's definitely the barrier entry being lowered, especially in the collegiate scene. I am a huge advocate for promoting accessibility for higher education. So it's really exciting to me, and I hope to continue pushing forward where universities can offer more scholarships and resources toward esports, whether it be for players or for student organizations. Yeah, I do like how it's growing, because at first it used to be like 2 universities that offered full rides, but I do believe, like, I can tell, seeing how fast esports is growing, it's going to be more of the standard.
I'm excited to see events like this being run, where everyone can connect digitally and more people can learn about esports and collegiate esports and bringing people together. I hope more events like this happen. And overall, it's nice to know that there are communities out there that can support students in what they want to do and pursue their passions. So with that, we are open to Q&A. We are accepting questions, so please feel free to type in some questions in the chat.
Niko, we do have a question that has come in. Are there internship opportunities in the esports arena?
Yes, and I think this is something that maybe a few of us can speak on. I know I have seen internship opportunities at many different types of organizations. So there are the AAA game developers, they have internship opportunities. There are esports production companies that run tournaments and events. There are internship opportunities there. And there's even some interesting groups and companies that are creating some new tech in the space, platforms, ways to connect people together, and there are opportunities to intern there as well. I think if you'd like to learn more about internship opportunities, you're welcome to reach out to us. And if anyone else here would like to mention a few other opportunities you may know of as well, but there are definitely internship opportunities. There are more ways now to get involved than there has ever been. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, something interesting. So I've definitely seen a lot of esports internships, different companies like you were mentioning. Something interesting that we actually have at our campus that I kind of want to mention with that is we have what's called like a technical internship. And I know that some of the people that I work with at Champlain College Esports have been a part of this, where for a semester, they'll be able to be a part of this technical internship, work with Champlain College Esports, and actually get that internship credit from their work at Champlain College Esports. So that's been something really cool that I don't know if other colleges have that similar thing because I don't go to those colleges. But that's been something cool as well to be able to use the collegiate esports experience towards actual real life experience and internship experience, and really be able to put that on a resume.
I just want to quickly mention, because I don't have much experience in, I never had a chance to do an esports internship, but one resource I would definitely recommend for anyone looking for them is Hitmarker. It's a website that just has a huge list of esports roles, internships, full-time, contract, a bunch of different stuff. And if you just want a place to browse what kind of jobs there are, what companies there are, that's a great place to start. And I personally check it a few times a month just to see what's out there. So if you are just want to like browse, that's a good resource.
Yeah, Hitmarker is a pretty good opportunity if you're able to find something remote. And as well as college opportunities if you're able to use the credits to help fulfill or satisfy a class curriculum. You could also talk to your coach or administration to see if they are able to network with you to have you have an internship with an organization that they have been in touch with or working with. But I do want to emphasize, if you are going to go for an internship, please make sure and have a transparency conversation in regards to how they will be paying you, or at least rewarding your work. It's really important, and there has been some topics that came up with young players and young contributors who have been taken advantage of because they didn't know. So, know your worth, know your value, don't be taken advantage of, and don't do anything if they say it's for exposure.
One thing I want to build on what Amber has said, there are some programs that universities are starting now that are online courses that you can take. And even if you go to a different university, those courses could act as transfer credit to whichever university you go to. It depends on a case-by-case basis, so make sure you check. But some of these courses involve real-world events that you are a part of. And so there are ways to get college credit as well as building your portfolio almost like an internship. So you can almost get the best of both worlds. I know Miami University has that option, and there may be other universities that have that option as well.
Great. So you touched on it a little bit earlier, but could you elaborate a little bit on how the pandemic has affected Esports?
Sure, I'll talk about that a little bit. From what I've seen with universities, it's on a case-by-case basis. This may not be the same for all universities, but for the most part, what I've heard is that students will be coming back to campus this fall semester. Classes will be at a 35 to 50% capacity to comply with social distancing. Everyone has to wear a mask. If someone feels sick, nobody should come to class. There are more online classes, but there will still be those in-person classes. And maybe one of the biggest things that universities are doing, at least for this upcoming fall semester, is they are condensing the semester into essentially a longer sprint. Semesters will still start usually towards the end of August, and then all breaks are taken out because administrators don't want students to leave and then come back, possibly catching it. So it's all at the university, an entire sprint through Thanksgiving break at the end of November. After that, finals week is all done remotely online, and then the semester is over. So instead of having an August to December semester, it's really an August to end of November semester.
Yeah, and I kind of just want to talk about like what I've seen, because taking that and then applying it to esports on campus as well, and just collegiate esports space. For us, we've been able to continue some operations that we haven't done in the past, or start new operations that we haven't done in the past, such as like bi-weekly game nights for the incoming class. We've worked with our marketing department and our admissions department on those kind of things that we haven't been able to do. We've done less frequent ones on campus when they come to open houses and when they come for orientation. And then the biggest thing that I've realized, or that I've gained from being home and working remotely, is Intercollegiate Game Network, where me and Ryan work. That started as a response to the COVID pandemic and everyone going remote and all the events being canceled. And that wouldn't have happened. But now we have this network of over 2,000 collegiate leaders that we're able to talk to and now network with. And when this all ends, we'll probably see at conventions and be able to network with them even more and make further connections. So esports, for me personally, has during this time seen new opportunities that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
So we have time for one more question. This one's kind of a fun one. What upcoming games do you see as the next big esport, similar to League of Legends or even Fortnite?
It's a lot of money. I would say I haven't. The main one that I've been interested in is Valorant, because there is a lot of investment from the get-go from Riot Games, the developer of Valorant, to make it have an esports scene. It's not, of course, it just came out, so it would take a while to reach the just sheer power that is League of Legends. But it's definitely something that I'm interested in seeing evolve. And there's probably more on the mobile side of things that I've kind of seen a little bit of, but I don't want to speak on topics that I don't really know about. So I just know it's still evolving, but it hasn't. It's not something that I pay too much attention to, but it's still interesting to see from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, Valorant exploded really quickly with that. I mean, that's to me the biggest upcoming one. Immediately, while that was still in beta months ago, our group of people came to us as the club heads for Champlain College Esports, and they were like, immediately, we want to start a Valorant team. And our competitive coordinator worked with them. We have a summer Valorant team. We're getting ready for tryouts for the next semester. So within a few months, honestly, within a few weeks of that, having that beta access, we were already starting a team and starting to compete in tournaments. which was really cool. So Valorant, they invested a lot into it, and they're seeing a lot from that investment.
Yeah, I think Riot had the intention of having esports in mind for Valorant. Like, I don't know any other game that had tournaments already ready during beta. I can't think of any game where you would make a tournament for a beta, especially with thousands of dollars in the prize pool. So that was pretty wild to go through that experience. And I also do see, although like I'm not directly involved with it, but mobile gaming competitively is going to catch up to, I suppose, to the same level of console competitively or PC competitively. However, I am under the impression that it will be more popular outside of the US due to like culture differences in how the two sides of the world perceive what they find as their preferred source of entertainment.
It's hard to predict the future. Sometimes a game comes out and it's the biggest thing. It's even harder to sustain it. As of now, if I had to take a guess, I would say Valorant, just because it's been breaking records and it is from Riot. That would be my guess. But overall, regardless of what game you think will be the biggest game or the different changes and trends that happen, I think the big thing is know that you have a community out there that you can reach out to. And Alex and Ryan, as part of the Intercollegiate Game Network, they are absolutely great and will want to help students and various groups get connected. So if you have a chance of reaching out, please feel free to look up Intercollegiate Game Network. Feel free to look up All Mid as well in Cougar Gaming. There are entire communities out there to help students and university administrators to build this scene together.
Awesome. Well, Niko, Ryan, Amber, and Alex, I'd like to say thank you for your informative presentation and sponsorship of Campus Party Digital Edition USA.
Thank you. Thank you for this event.
Thank you for having us.
It's a wonderful thing to see everyone come together.
It's a pleasure to be here. Definitely didn't expect to be here at the start of the week. So it was a nice surprise.
Thank you all.